You may have heard that Blake Lively has filed a sexual harassment complaint against her director and co-star from her movie, It Ends With Us.
Things are getting even messier between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively because Blake is suing Justin for alleged sexual harassment and what she claims is a coordinated effort to destroy her reputation.
The New York Times released Blake Lively's complaint, suing Justin Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, Jamie Heath, his PR company, and many more.
If you're following Hollywood drama, this one's a bombshell. Blake Lively has filed a sexual harassment lawsuit against It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni. The twist? Baldoni has long been the poster child for male feminism, giving TED Talks about toxic masculinity and publicly championing women's rights.
But I don't have a desire to fit into the current broken definition of masculinity. Because I don't just want to be a good man. I want to be a good human.
Now he's the center of allegations that could shatter his carefully crafted image, and the irony doesn't stop there. The film they starred in, a dark romance based on Colleen Hoover's bestseller, centers on abuse, with Lively as a woman trapped in a toxic relationship and Baldoni as the abuser. Off-screen, whispers of tension during filming foreshadow this legal battle.
We do have It Starts With Us, so I'm hoping to see you back in the double duty role.
I think there are better people for that one.
Justin.
I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. That's what I think.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Justin said he doesn't know if he'd be game to direct the next one, but perhaps Blake would. Is that something that you would entertain?
Oh, absolutely. I think that whoever decides to take charge of the next one would do it justice. But, you know, it's a lot of people to get the same schedules together again, so we'll see.
Oh, absolutely. She's so capable of that. She is a powerhouse. She can do literally anything.
But no one expected it to come to this. And let's not forget the controversies that already clouded the movie. From backlash over the casting to Lively's tone-deaf press tour, where she encouraged floral outfits at screenings of a movie about domestic violence, fans were divided long before this lawsuit. So now, what does this mean for Baldoni, Lively, and a film that had already stirred so much debate? And how much of their on-screen dynamic bled into real life? Stay tuned because this story is only getting started. In her legal complaint, she has accused him of sexual harassment and creating a toxic work environment on set. She complained about how boundaries were being crossed, inappropriate comments were being made, and the whole work environment was unsafe. She asked for things like having an intimacy coordinator on set full-time and some outside oversight to make sure things stayed in check. Wayfarer Studios agreed to everything in writing and promised there'd be no retaliation. The complaint was filed with the California Civil Rights Department and reported by the New York Times. She's also naming Baldoni, the studio behind the film, and even Baldoni's publicist in the legal papers. The whole thing started after Blake and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, had a meeting to talk about the ongoing harassment and troubling behavior that came from Baldoni and a producer. After that meeting, Blake claimed that Baldoni and the studio tried to ruin her reputation. She said they set up a plan to plant negative stories about her online, create a social media smear campaign, and leak damaging news stories like this.
Another promise was no pet monkey. Yeah. Chuck has a matching pet monkey with coordinating outfits, and I was like, I would love to be part of the show, but I can't act with a monkey. And then I got a few of them.
You got a few of them.
Come on, it was a joke. Lord have mercy.
Or this.
And thought she seemed nice, and little did I know.
Yeah. Look at the body language experts analyze.
She said that she couldn't let the inappropriate behavior slide, both for her own mental health and to make sure the set stayed professional. But Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, denied the allegations, calling them false and accusing Lively of threatening to harm the film's release. But how was this all started? In May, Justin found out that Ryan Reynolds had blocked him on Instagram, which set off alarm bells. He quickly got in touch with his publicist, Jennifer, and suggested they get ready for any potential drama once a movie was released, especially if Blake Lively had anything to say about it. According to some documents and messages the New York Times got hold of, Justin and his team started working with crisis management expert Melissa Nathan to figure out a game plan. She is a PR expert who's worked with big names like Johnny Depp and Drake. They sent over a planning document to Wayfair and Mr. Baldoni on August 2nd, with Nathan suggesting talking points that included accusations that Blake was using her influence to take control of the film's creative direction. But Baldoni wasn't happy with the document and vented his frustration in a text to Jennifer and Heath, saying he didn't feel as protected as he did during their initial conversation. Jennifer passed Baldoni's concerns along to Nathan, stressing that they needed to show strength in their approach but also be careful not to stir up more trouble. Nathan warned against going too hard in writing, fearing that if those documents got out, they could cause serious problems. Later on, Nathan floated the idea of going after Blake Lively's reputation, suggesting a plan to damage her image on social media. Just days later, Baldoni noticed a viral thread accusing another celebrity, Hailey Bieber, of bullying, which had gotten millions of views, and thought they could use that same strategy. Nathan then proposed hiring contractors to take down social media accounts, start speculation threads, and control the narrative, all without leaving a trace. Jennifer was on board, so they moved ahead with a plan to engage in what they called a social combat strategy. According to Jennifer, the situation went like this. In one of these chats, Justin Baldoni reportedly shared a post from X that slammed Hailey Bieber, and he seemed pretty pleased with how it made her look bad. He even said, "This is what we need," implying they needed to find something similar to use against Blake Lively to tarnish her image in the same way. Then there's another message where Melissa Nathan talks about how crazy the media coverage is, but also finds it kind of funny because the messaging is all over the place. She actually seems pleased with how everything's playing out, saying, "The narrative is crazy good. So did you. The majority of socials are so pro-Justin." Nathan had been chatting with other journalists. On August 4th, Nathan sent a text to Jennifer Abel saying she had spoken off the record to an editor at the Daily Mail and casually added, "She's ready when we are." One of her texts even mentioned that big news outlets weren't touching any HR complaints about him. Jed Wallace, who handled digital strategy for the crisis team, proudly claimed they'd turn things around on social media, especially on Reddit. Nathan also agreed, saying the shift in social media sentiment was thanks to Wallace and his team, and pointed out how often society tends to focus its blame on women. The whole situation seems to show two sides of the story. While Blake Lively might have gotten some heat, people seem to overlook Justin Baldoni's actions because of the way they were hating on Lively. Originally, both Lively and Baldoni were supposed to promote the movie together, but Baldoni went rogue and did his own thing. Even though some might think Lively's just trying to save face, there's proof backing up her side. The complaint mentions that during the summer 2024 release of the film, Lively and the other cast members stuck to a marketing plan Sony had set up. The plan was all about highlighting Lively's strength and resilience instead of making the movie look like a sob story about domestic violence, and focused more on hope than sadness. But right before the movie was about to drop, Baldoni and his team made a pretty unexpected move. They completely shifted gears from the original marketing plan. Why? It turns out that a lot of the cast and crew had unfollowed Baldoni on social media and were even avoiding him in public. To manage his image, Baldoni and his crew decided to focus on posting content about survivors of domestic violence. They started pushing stories about survivors, sharing their experiences, and basically telling people how important the film was. Baldoni even messaged his team, telling them to make sure they were engaging with survivor stories and amplifying their support online. Now, this whole approach can be seen in two ways. On one hand, maybe it was a real attempt to shine a light on these important stories. On the other hand, it could also look like a bit of a PR stunt, just trying to save face. To make matters worse, messages from his PR crisis management team showed they were more relieved that Baldoni's reputation was staying intact than actually focusing on the cause. They even seemed kind of excited about the public backlash against someone else in the project. Definitely doesn't look good for Baldoni and his team. In addition to that, the public wasn't exactly loving the way the movie was being marketed. But the Baldoni team maintained the same strategy. Now, when it came to the filming itself, a lot of drama went down. Both Blake and Justin found themselves under fire for their actions. But most of the media's focus was on Blake, which totally overshadowed Justin's controversial behavior. But that doesn't mean nobody stood up in Blake's support. Colleen Hoover, the author of It Ends With Us, spoke up, calling Lively honest, kind, and supportive since the start of their friendship. Brandon Sklenar, who stars with Blake Lively in It Ends With Us, has been all about supporting her during this tough time. He even posted a New York Times article on Instagram about Blake's lawsuit against director Justin Baldoni, tagged her, and sent a heart emoji to show he's got her back. But it's not just Brandon. Blake's sisterhood of the Traveling Pants co-stars, America Ferrera, Alexis Bledel, and Amber Tamblyn, are also standing by her. They all came together and shared a message on Instagram showing their support for Blake as she's dealing with the accusations against Baldoni. They've called out his actions on the It Ends With Us set, especially how he reportedly used the story of domestic violence survivors to silence Blake. Amber went even further, saying filming the movie was especially hard on Blake, and it's not just her co-stars, tons of other celebrities are also speaking up. People like Gwyneth Paltrow, Amy Schumer, Shawn Levy, and even Blake's half-sister Robin Lively have all shown their admiration for her and backed her stance against what they see as a smear campaign. It's clear Blake's got a solid support system in her corner. Rather, it was Baldoni who was dropped by his talent agency, WME, which definitely hit him hard. It's looking like public opinion is slowly turning against him, with more and more people backing Lively, so he's dealing with some serious challenges right now. But before jumping to conclusions, it's important to remember the golden rule in law: innocent until proven guilty. This is just the beginning of the case, and both Baldoni and Lively are going to have to bring their evidence to the table. What's really catching attention here is the huge difference between the image Baldoni has worked so hard to build and the allegations he's facing. For years, he's been out there promoting his modern idea of masculinity, one where men can be open about their feelings, challenge toxic masculinity, and show vulnerability. He's even called himself a feminist, often speaking about how men hurt both women and society. His podcast, Man Enough, with his producer Jamie Heath, who's also mentioned in the legal complaint, digs deep into what it means to be man enough in today's world, pushing for a version of masculinity that's more empathetic and emotionally aware. But then there are these allegations that seem to paint a completely different picture. The legal complaint suggests that behind the scenes, Baldoni might have been using his public persona for personal gain, and there are serious accusations of sexual harassment and creating a toxic work environment. Blake didn't hold back in a meeting she had with Baldoni, Heath, and the other producers in January. According to her legal filing, Baldoni had created unwanted kissing scenes and even talked openly about his intimate life, admitting he hadn't gotten consent in some cases. Heath, on the other hand, allegedly showed Blake a video of his wife without clothes and even watched her in her trailer while she was topless and getting body makeup removed, even though she'd asked for privacy. She said both guys kept showing up in her makeup trailer uninvited when she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding. Baldoni's reps denied all of it, calling the claims false and saying it was just Blake trying to fix her image after some negative press from It Ends With Us. So far, it's just messy and nasty back and forth between both of them. Though we can clearly see some foul play, but it's hard to pinpoint who's the ultimate guilty, and this nasty drama, it ends with whom.